St. Paul, in writing to the Romans, recognizes that they lived in a very contentious world. In writing to the Romans, he understood that there were all sorts of divisions and challenges within the culture of the time. And that while Rome sat as the highest authority and the most challenging and the most severe, they knew that within their own communities there existed all sorts of challenges and divisions and opinions and attitudes that were constantly going at each other. And so he's writing to them, urging them to unity, urging them to recognize that it's within the unity of our belief in Jesus Christ that we find our strength. When he gives those great, often quoted lines, "What will separate us from the love of Christ? Anguish, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, the sword." We could add pandemic, political discord, any other number of things. Are those what's going to separate us from the love of Christ? Or do we stand right up, face to face against those things with the love of Jesus Christ binding us together? Do we allow the power of the love of Christ to help us see beyond all of the discord, all of the challenges, all of the things that are truly threats? Realize that the love of Christ impels us, that the love of Christ urges us to care for each other, to love in the image of Christ himself, who sacrificed himself for us. Are we able to recognize first that the love of Christ impels us, and then act from that? That's the challenge he gives to the disciples today after they hear about the death of John the Baptist. Jesus wisely realizes that now that they've killed John, they're going to ring up the usual suspects and try to gather them around. So it says that he takes a step back, goes to a deserted place, but the people are yearning for the love of Christ. So they follow him. And so he continues to preach to them and then turns to the disciples because it's late in the evening. And they're like, "Lord, they're going to be hungry. We got to do something about this." And Jesus challenges them. Compassion begins with a desire to give of ourselves, not looking for others to do it, not even looking for people to take care of themselves. Compassion demands a personal response, a personal determination to care for the other. Compassion is not letting others take care of those in need. It's about a decision that it may cost me the very food that the apostles had. It cost them their own provisions to care for others. That's the challenge of the gospel, and when we think of the love of Christ. It's all well and good to think of how God loves me, of how God loves us. But the challenge of compassion is to carry that love to another, even if it costs me something. It may mean a meal. It may mean some money. It may mean forgiveness. It might mean overlooking a disagreement. It might mean greater patience on my part. Compassion cost the giver, even to the cross. Such is the love of Christ. What will separate us from the love of Christ? Only ourselves and our unwillingness to look beyond my needs, my satisfaction, my opinion, my feelings. That's what separates us from the love of Christ. For the love of Christ seeks a sacrifice of the one who gives. What sacrifice am I willing to make for the reason of compassion for others, for those in need of mercy, of charity, of forgiveness, of hope? What am I willing to sacrifice that I may remain connected to the love of Christ?